Hi, everyone. I was just thinking of doing another blog, but I thought I'd do something a little more creative if I could, to show you maybe how screenwriting can be done by anybody, given certain circumstances where you can put the pieces together so that it can be made into a screenplay. Anyway, as you can see, for the last 4 days, I've been here in the hospital. It was one of those situations where I guess, totally unplanned for, but ended up being here anyways. As I was just telling some friends, I think I won the heart and stroke lottery, but I didn't get the $1 billion prize. So anyway, okay, so having said that, what I want to try to do is put this whole event into perspective. And I thought I would try to do it using a screenplay outline. Now, as I've said to you before, I think the best screenplay outline that there is for anybody out there right now is Blake Snyder's Save the Cat. He does a beat sheet in that, which is a wonderful tool for beginner screenwriters, even, experienced screenwriters, to kind of put the story together. I just saw a blog from screenwriter ML, and he emphasized a lot of good points, and one of them was definitely a point I agree with him on. It's all about story in a film. So anyway, having said that, if you happen to have the book or buy the book, I'd recommend it if you're a serious screenwriter to get it. It's not that expensive. I don't know, it's $12 or something like that. It's by Blake Snyder, S-N-Y-D-E-R, and it's called Save the Cat. So I'll go right to the beat sheet for that. And the beat sheet shows you all of the points that you have to refer to or have to make happen at certain intervals within the screenplay. All right, so think of this as my story over the last few days, and we'll finish up with this later on, but I'll get right through to what we call the all is lost moment in Blake Snyder's treatment a plan, or beat sheet as it's called, and that would be on page 75. So we even know what page these things are supposed to happen on. So, in his screenplay, it starts with what we call the opening image. So in my story right now, that would be a man walking along the street with his dog and suddenly getting some chest pains, rather severe chest pains, but not thinking too much of it, although having to take time to stand aside and relax a few moments, thinking it might be indigestion, might be something, but really not overly concerned, but concerned enough that when he gets home, he's going to do something about it. But imagine this opening image. You've got to create this man. 1 second he's happy, the next second he's in distress. As screenwriter ML would say, that's the thing that's got to grab you and bring you in to the screenplay, okay? So that's the first scene. Now, the next step in the beat sheet is what's called the setup. It goes from pages 1, where the final, or the opening image occurred, to page 10. And that setup is going to begin in my story with a call to my doctor. And I set an appointment with him for May 9th. All right, so I sit back, things happen, I go for a walk for the dog again. I'm not too overly concerned, but on the other hand, I'm very careful that I don't want this to happen again, etc. And unfortunately, on that very weekend, the Friday I made the call to set the appointment for May 9th, I get another chest pain. And so I think, something, I don't think I should wait for this. I should, call the clinic on Monday. I did. They said my doctor was not available, but I should come in and see somebody. So I did. Now, this is all happening in the first 1 to 10 pages of your screenplay, right? So I go in, I chat, I see a nurse, I see a couple of people, they do an electrocardiogram, et cetera, and they have a doctor there to see me. All right? And that doctor pulls me aside and starts chatting with me. Now, he says that he thinks I should go and see a specialist. Now, it's that recommendation to see a heart specialist that is the catalyst to take you, and it should occur on roughly page 12. That's the catalyst to take you into now what's called the debate, which occurs for the next 12 to 25 pages, right? Now, just going back to that setup, at page 5 in the setup, and it should be on page 5, not 4, not 6, it could be either way, but Blake Snyder says page 5. Anyways, you've got to somehow get a theme going in this. There's got to be something about this, a theme that is a theme that becomes not the moral of the story, but maybe close to it. Anyways, I thought in this case the theme would be never take tomorrow for granted. Never take life for granted. One of those realizations that you must be aware of all the time. So I thought that was a pretty good theme. I may change it, but I mean, if I was to write this screenplay, but that's where we're at right now. So now we're in the debate. Family doctor recommends a specialist, a heart specialist. Okay, so from the debate now, it's the run-up to meeting the specialist, right? I get the appointment for the specialist. I talk to my partner about it. We're talking, we're a little concerned, blah, blah, blah. I don't know yet how serious it is, how not serious it is. The pains are continuing a little bit, but mild, and I've got them under control because I'm able to relax a bit and so on, etc. Anyway, we get to the point where the break into 2, second act, should occur on page 25. And that is, I meet the heart specialist, right? Okay, now the heart specialist at this point kicks me into the second act. So now I know everything from here on is going to relate to the heart specialist, right? Okay, so that carries us now right up to page 55. And there's what's called the B story, which occurs roughly at page 30. So now we're going to roughly page 25 through to page 55 as part of the break into 2. And in those pages, roughly at page 30, you have to develop a B story. A B story is something that happens whereby the protagonist, the lead, so to speak, is doubtful, concerned, worried, whatnot, in this case, and somewhere along the line he's got to get good advice. So in this case, I happen to be talking to a patient in the waiting room for the cardiologist, the specialist, and maybe I need a psychiatrist. Anyway, and he started talking about how he had major valve surgery, etc., and that, really, you just have to put there comes a point in your life where you just have to put yourself in the hands of people that you trust. There's not a lot you can do with it. And he also said, which I thought was really interesting, and besides, what choice do you have? Look at what the alternatives is if you don't go through with this. So it's kind of an encouraging bit, but it's also a reality check for the protagonist, okay? So now we get to the end of what we call the break into 2, again from pages roughly 12 to 25. Or sorry, I'm talking about the break into 2 from pages roughly 25 to 55. And at page 55, we've got to kind of move now into what are called, for Blake Snyder's purposes, the fun and games. Now, the fun and games are all those little things that happen and whatnot that are going to lead you to the end of the story, right? So in this case, I just happen to call it the specialist sets the appointment for the angiogram. All right, angiogram. They put a dye in your lungs or your arteries, and they look at the map of your heart and whatnot to see what's going on. And he said, if it requires an angioplasty where they put a stent in, that little tubey thing that they stent up there in the artery and then expand it so the blood flow can get through. He said they'll do it at that time. So, okay. So all of that leads from page 30 to 55, the patient in the waiting room, the B story, all of the talk about the heart specialist and so on, etc. Anyways, he sets the appointment for the angiogram, okay? And that would be on page 55, right at the end of Fun and Games. Now, there you've reached the midpoint, page 55. You're looking at roughly a 110-page script. So there you reach the midpoint, page 55, okay? And at this point, it begins with the arrival at the hospital for the angiogram. Now, from 55 to 75, it's called Bad Guys Close In. Now, Bad Guys Close In is it's actually a good label, but it maybe not be quite that bad. But Bad Guys Close In, and this time, it's all the things that are going to happen to me that day in the taking the angiogram, from the point I come into the hospital to the point I get the actual angiogram, and so on. And it has to cover about 20 pages. So there I'll be talking to people, I guess, and talking to nurses, getting ready. They're shaving my wrist for the angiogram and or the groin for the angiogram, depending upon which they decide to do at the last minute. You're getting a lot of work done, like your EKGs and all that stuff, right? So there's a lot to talk about there in the run-up to the actual angiogram, all right? And so up till this point, everything has been pretty straightforward. In other words, everything has been expected, shall we say. Everything is not unusual in any way. It's angiograms and angioplasties are done, oh gosh, I don't know, so many these days that it's just, I guess because of aging population, whatnot, I don't know. But anyways, they're a very, very common procedure. In fact, I expected to come in at 12 o'clock noon and be home at 6 o'clock at night. Woe is me, did I? Well, as I say, naivety sometimes. You don't plan for, there's all sorts of analogies there. It never rains, it pours, and all that stuff. Anyway, so here I am on the table. They got the tube up my wrist, etc. And I'm just thinking, okay, so now I'll get home tonight. I'm going to walk the dog, blah, 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 blah. And then the doctor comes over and he says to me pretty much like this: we can't do it. It's too risky. So we're going to schedule you for open heart surgery. Oing. I said, oh, is this a joke? Well, anyway, the point is it wasn't a joke. And then the sons of guns, held me hostage. They wouldn't let me leave the hospital Friday night. It was all totally unexpected. And so the result is I have now been in the hospital since Friday afternoon at 12 o'clock to today, which I guess is Monday at about, what time is it now? Roughly almost 2 o'clock on Monday afternoon. Well, about an hour ago, I got the word. And the word is I'm going to have the surgery, the open heart surgery, bypass, tomorrow morning, first thing. Okay. So now, what would be the best all is lost there, or oh my God? Now, if you were a writer, you might want to amplify the seriousness of the operation. And quite frankly, I know it's a serious operation, but I don't want to diminish it. It's difficult for a lot of people. But I'm a healthy guy, and I'm not too concerned about it at all. As I say, you get to the point where you got to put your trust in people, anyways, right? And so that's what this is really all about. And there's nothing I can do about it. So what the hell choice do I have, anyways? Just take it as it comes, right? So, anyways, a great all is lost moment might be, as I say, to amplify all this stuff in a big way, make it more serious than it is. And the all is lost is you see me wheeling down the ward or the hallway at the hospital and into the cardiac surgery unit. Ba-dum! And now the surgery begins. So what will happen in my next blog, which I'm told will probably not be for 3 days, maybe 4 days. Apparently I have to go and stay a day in the ICU unit, intensive care unit, whatnot, for 24 hours. And then after that, I'll be begging them to get the hell out of here. But I'll try to, if I can, I won't be able to do it from the ICU. There's no way. But I will try to get back to you on maybe late Wednesday or Thursday. And then we'll finish the layout of the screenplay. And what we have to do then is, from the All is Lost on page 75, we have to go through what's called Dark Night of the Soul, surgeons cutting away, blah, 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 and all that stuff, everybody sweating their brow, the whole bit. And then we're going to go through what we call the break into three, right? And the break in the 3 is when I come out the end and it's hooray, I was saved. The doctor did his job. He was a great guy, blah, 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 blah. And then we have the finale, getting out of the hospital or planning to get out of the hospital, maybe getting home, and maybe a final image, right, of me standing on the balcony with my dog, my partner, looking out over the skyline of Toronto and saying, gee, isn't life great? There's the theme rolled up into one, all right? Now look, you've got those events in your life. Get a hold of Blake Snyder's Save the Cat and put it together. At least do the beat sheets. This is what it looked like for me that I just did it. I don't know if you read that, okay? But anyways, that's all it takes. It's scribble, scratches, and so on, and you get the draft of what the beat sheet would be. And then guess what you have to do? You just have to fill little points in for each one to create enough scenes and dialogues to fill the spots. So that's it. All right, so that's enough for today. I'll be looking forward to talking to you Wednesday late or Thursday. Maybe Friday. I don't know. But anyway, I will get to you as soon as I can. All right? So you take care. Have a good day. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye.